That was an auspicious debut. Hello, it is I, the glorious one. Nah, not really. Hope you're having a glorious day. I'm going to be talking about a subject today here on Where You with Cary that is not that glorious. Specifically, Dave Chappelle. Whew, there's a whole can of worms. And also, I'm going to be talking about a lot of transphobia, possibly some homophobia. Don't know what I'm going to get to on this video. But I will say that this video specifically, if that bothers you, this might be a two-part video at least. I don't know if it's going to be one part, because I have a lot of things I want to get out there. And I just want to say first off that I am a cis, white, pansexual man. I'm a cis guy with a grudge, to quote James Somerton, the YouTuber, when he was talking about J.K. Rowling. And this is the way I feel about Dave Chappelle, because the way he felt about J.K. Rowling is essentially how I feel about Dave Chappelle. Maybe not so much as I hero worship him, or, I lost myself in his world, so to speak. I don't think he specifically hero worshipped her. He liked her world. He got engrossed in the world. More like, I grew up loving his comedy. Fact. And I still will hold the fact that the Chappelle Show is a great fucking show. Regardless of anything else. Regardless of context. Even when his name's slapped on the tag. Even if he's a horrible fucking bigot. A horrible, shitty person. That still remains. Good people do bad things. Bad people do good things. But I just want to point out, this is a long intro, and I'm sorry. If those things bother, if you don't want to hear about Dave Chappelle, or transphobia, or any of his transphobia specifically, you might. Also, I'm going to be talking about his friend who killed herself, so there's suicide talk there. So I have trigger warning here, there's suicide, transphobia, all that stuff. I probably should have said that at the beginning, and this video already feels like a run. If that's not your jam, I totally understand. And this, to make it clear, I welcome anybody that watches this video. Obviously, that's fine. But this video, in a way, is kind of cathartic for me, because I really need to grapple with this whole thing. As I said, a cis guy with a grudge. And so anyway, let's begin. Now, as I previously said, I was a huge Dave Chappelle fan. For years I have been. Basically, you could probably say my entire teenage to adult life. As I'm sure a lot of people grew up on Chappelle's show and love this stand-up comedy. I will say, for Live at the Fillmore and Killing Them Softly are two great comedy specials. Absolutely recommend both. Couldn't recommend them more. And for the most part, those jokes have aged okay. There's a couple things there. And to be honest, it's amazing some of the stuff he was making fun of on Chappelle's show and around that time that he was right on the money about. Like, you can look at his Law and Order sketch and how jarring that is now for everything that's going on. So I want to sit here and say that I am very much, or was, a fan of him. Or at the very least, I'm still a fan of his old work. And then Sticks and Stones came out. A Netflix special, I believe, was 2 years ago. I didn't watch all his Netflix specials, I admit that. I didn't even watch all the new one, and I'll get to that for a bit. But Sticks and Stones was the infamous show. They got a lot of people pretty upset at Dave Chappelle. But I watched it and I laughed my ass off and I had a great time. And there wasn't really too much there that bothered me. It felt to me like Dave Chappelle's back in full form. He was out here doing what he loved. He did have a few jokes I didn't like. Like one where he said, we're going to find everything you ever did, every mistake, and then we're going to use it to punish you. You know what it is? All of you! And like trying to say the audience is canceling people. Pushing that cancel culture narrative. And I, very much when I watch the show, was of the mind that I thought I knew what cancel culture was. Looking back on it now, I don't really get it, because it doesn't, as I point out in other videos, it doesn't exist in the way they say it exists. Most people crying cancel culture themselves will not only engage in some kind of cancel culture, but when they cry that, they usually are not being canceled. They are literally being paid a whole lot of money to shout out this stuff, to shout out their philosophy, so to speak, for people who want to hear it and see it. That's the opposite of cancels. Cancel would be where you're silenced. You're not allowed to speak. But there's another joke in that special, because I don't want to just dwell on that. And this was a joke that really, really kind of emphasized where this was going. where he made a reference to trans people and saying that he had plenty of trans fans and he thought that it was funny, their condition, that, and then went on to claim that it would be funny to him, like if he was Dave Chappelle, a black man, and he had a Chinese man inside him, that, and he started doing a very stereotypical, horrible Asian impression, Chinese impression that was just offensive, that basically sounded like something Steve fucking Crowder would do. This is how bad this was. And this is one joke, more than anything. In my opinion, this felt like a big yikes moment. But I didn't see it necessarily, at least not yet, as a big problem. I thought it was just one joke that did make Dave Chappelle seem transphobic, racist, and unfunny all in one joke. But I didn't think Dave Chappelle was racist. I mean, of course. I thought he's got an Asian wife, so why would he be racist? You know, I don't know the whole thing. His relationship with Asian people, but I don't think he's racist to Asian people. I won't say that right now. And I was like, well, he just made one joke. Maybe this was his first time trying a trans joke, and he just went there, and it was the wrong way to go. He took a swing and missed. I didn't think he was transphobic. And I didn't think he was unfunny watching the whole special. I just thought, well, this one joke sucked. And this was the one joke a lot of people pounced on. And the joke was trash. I'll say it again. It was garbage. This is the kind of joke that I would be embarrassed by if I at that time said I was a fan of Dave Chappelle or that Sticks is so special and somebody brought up that joke. I'd be like, you know, in the way, like, I'll watch wrestling and I'll promote a wrestling show. I'll go, go watch AEW Dynamite, and then they'll have, like, a really bad match, or will have a really embarrassing moment. Like, shit like the exploding barbed wire match that supposedly not going off, or Nicholas winning the tag title. Shit like that makes you embarrassed, right? But all you can really do is just kind of move on. And for a while, I didn't think about Dave Chappelle. And I certainly didn't think about that joke. And then I started hearing some things. It started making me think that maybe Chappelle... Now, for what it's worth, I always thought... I don't want to make it sound like I put him on a pedestal. I like his comedy, but for what I understood, for what I knew about the guy... I didn't watch, like, documentaries or anything about him, but it's from what I got from people that he was a pretty nice, decent dude. He was just kind of average dude that made some comedy. He was a cool guy. And most of the stuff, I liked a lot of stuff about him. Like, I thought he was the kind of dude you'd like to hang out with, and that he was just the kind of dude who's going to call people on their bullshit. That's kind of what his thing was. He would make jokes about just about everybody, and I was fine with that. As a white man, I never had a problem with any of his white jokes because they're funny as fuck, and he's not really saying anything offensive. He's sometimes telling the truth, but sometimes he's exaggerating shit. I never had a problem with it. Like, what he said, even though I myself have never gotten high with a group of white people, but when he made his joke about how, oh, well, the only problem when you get high with a group of white people, they do some borderline gay shit and talk about them putting pencils in your ass or whatever. It's like, I've known people who've done that shit. I know that shit happens. Shit, I've heard stories like that, so I can relate to that. And it's just funny. I don't have a problem with it. For my part, he was a social commentator who was commenting. He wasn't being malicious in any of his intent. I mean, this is a man who, his first skit on Chappelle's show was him as a black man leading the KKK, which is based on a semi-true story. And nothing on Chappelle's show I felt was that too far, like him going over the line. There were some sketches that were like kind of meh there, but I don't think they were terrible. Just like the racial draft is one that a lot of people like, but I feel like that was kind of weak. There's some good jokes there, but I feel like that it went on way too long, in my opinion. Especially for kind of a thin premise, I feel like. I would like to see the whole episode of The Time Haters. We never got that. We just got the little bits of them shooting the slave owner and beating the shit out of Hitler. I would have liked to see the whole thing. I would like to see a Time Haters movie, to be honest. Back in the day. Now, I'm getting off on tangents. You can see clearly, though, I like this dude. I like his crack baby on a corner story. I don't think that actually happened, but that shit was fucking funny. Now then, though, what started causing me more pause, besides just this one joke, was a story about, first of all, it was about a year ago, I believe, around this time. It might have been a little earlier. He had Chappelle's show removed from Netflix because he was upset he didn't get paid again for a show he already got paid for several years ago. I think about 15 years ago. Now, he signed a contract that paid him a lot less money. But he also walked out of the show during when he was on contract and left the country and left the continent. And even at that time when that was happening, I didn't really have a lot of people talk to me about Dave Chappelle, but I would have defended him like, well, he's being mistreated, he's being treated badly by Viacom, and I don't stand some billion-dollar corporation. Okay, I don't give a fuck about Viacom. Fuck them or fuck whatever. You know, they're gonna use and abuse people. That's the way they are. They don't give a shit. They just want the fucking money. I'll say that. That's capitalism in a nutshell. These rich fucking companies, they don't give a fuck what you do for them. You know. It's why I don't stand companies. I like AEW. I like WWE. I'm not gonna stand them. I like Disney most of the time. Most of their stuff. I'm not gonna stand them either. I like Marvel. I like DC. I like Warner Bros. I'm not gonna stand these companies. I know the way they treat their people. And known for years. It's fucking horrible. So I'm not trying to say Dave Chappelle didn't have reasons to want to leave, but he had to realize the fact that there are consequences to your actions, and he doesn't seem to. When he was sitting here talking about getting paid again for something he already agreed to and signed and got paid for, it made it sound like, well, you basically are just throwing out your own consequences to your actions. Basically, you omitted the part where you did something wrong. No, they ripped you off, but you didn't do anything. And you could say, well, okay, maybe he didn't do anything wrong. Maybe he was just doing some extreme. And fine, maybe, but you have to realize that when you do actions like that, there's going to be consequences. I'm just speaking in general. And more the point to me was that it's kind of weird. He was just mad about getting money. He never specified how much money would be good enough for them to keep the shows on the streaming services. Or if the money was just going to go to him. Did he want the other actors on the show, the ones that are still alive, or their families, or the producers, or the cameramen? Because it's Chappelle's show, but it's not like he himself was doing everything. Were they going to get money too? Did they already get paid so he didn't care? I don't know how this works. Because he didn't specify. All he did was tell people to cancel it, and he also told people, despite being against cancel culture himself, told people to use the hashtag cancel Chappelle show and to go on Twitter. That's where the hashtags go. The hashtags go there. And basically tell Viacom and everybody else to take it off. And eventually, it came out later, he was really only mad because HBO Max had the show, because originally he had pitched it in 2000 and they had told him, what do we need you for? And he has every right to be mad about that, but it seems more than a little petty 20 years later to be telling your fans, hey, go tell HBO Max to remove this. Especially when he said himself he likes Netflix because they didn't exist when the stuff with Comedy Central was going down. And at the same time here, HBO Max, the entity, didn't exist. HBO existed, but it was completely different. So it's a little weird the way he puts this stuff. Already I was kind of thinking maybe this guy ain't as good as he was. I started thinking there maybe he was sort of a average billionaire. And I'm not even getting the transphobia yet. Holy shit. Might want to speed things up here, huh? Then there were stories about him being an anti-vaxxer. I don't know if that's for true. I know he was hanging out with Joe Rogan at some point and got COVID. And I'm glad he doesn't have COVID anymore. I'll make that clear. I don't want anybody to get COVID. That shit's terrible. It's awful. For whatever thing I've heard, it's just a horrible disease. Please get vaccinated if you can. Just as soon as you can, when you can, please get vaccinated. Because it's necessary. It needs to be done, and it helps you. It helps you and helps people around you, okay? Just a little PSA here. Alright, but then I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead because I kind of tuned that out, so to speak. Not because I thought it shouldn't be addressed, but I just didn't really care about it. And then something happened. The closer released, I think it was like last Tuesday. The funny thing, I woke up that day, and I had in my mind a tweet thinking about Dave Chappelle's trans person Chinese joke, and I put the tweet out without even looking anything up on Twitter. So I checked my messages, my notifications. The first thing I put was, it's amazing that in one joke, Dave Chappelle came off as racist, transphobic, and unfunny, even though I don't think he's any of those things. And I tweeted, and I thought, that's all. Then a little while after, I started seeing people talk about Chappelle on the timeline. Specifically, I think, it might have been actually before this, I retweeted a lady saying that a trans woman saying she tells better trans jokes than Dave Chappelle. And she does. So I thought that was a reference to that joke. Or, I didn't watch his other special, I think it was called Unforgiven, so maybe he made some offensive trans jokes there. And I don't know exactly what was in that content, I haven't looked it up. But as the day went on, I started pretty soon realizing, oh no, Dave Chappelle made a new special called The Closer. Some title there, Dave. That's real clever. Wow, The Closer. You really fucking put a lot of thought into that one, didn't you, bruh? Anyway, in this special, I started seeing some of the shit he was saying. Twitter isn't a real place where you have a Twitter account and You were telling your fans to tweet, Dave, so that's a little fucking stupid. Oh, but then I started seeing the fact that he was not only defending J.K. Rowling, notorious TERF, but he said that he's Team TERF. You can't get more. You can get more transphobic, and he does it as special, but you can't get much more transphobic than that. You literally, like, it would be like me, a white man saying, I'm Team KKK. You would be like, oh, what the fuck? And if I explain to you, no, I'm not racist. See, I disagree with some of their ideologies. How fucking stupid would that be? By the way, I don't want to be accused of plagiarism here. There's a man who made some of these points I'm making. You know, similar in the video. This is a video, The Conscious Lee, Dave Chappelle, Cancel Culture and Black People.
If your doorbell's...
Let's ignore that. Hold on just a minute. Stupid ads. Okay, this is the video. You see that? I'm not sure that's that clear. It's called Dave Chappelle, Cancel Culture and Black People by The Conscious Lee. The Conscious Lee. So it's the Conscience and then Lee. He makes a lot of great points. I don't hope I'm not parroting too many of them here, including that one I just said. He did say that about if somebody said they were Team KKK. So I don't want to rip him off. I just want to point out that point is very relevant. It's the best way I can think of to kind of get my point across to somebody who doesn't understand why this is bad. If you're watching this video, like, well, what's the big deal? But it gets worse, and unfortunately, I can't find the actual tweet of this, but it was... Okay, so I didn't watch Soul Special. I'm going to be real with you. I literally, after seeing this controversy, I wanted to give it a chance. I thought about doing a review and saying my thoughts about this. I knew it, no matter what, at the end, I was going to think Dave Chappelle's a piece of shit and a TERF. I have talked about this, but I wanted to see if he had some stuff, if he still is funny. I watched this for 15 minutes. The first few minutes were actually kind of funny. Him talking about having the COVID, and he made some good jokes at his own expense. And then you're like, oh, well, then maybe this will be good. And then he started in with trying to talk about gay people. And I was like, he literally said, LGBT community, let me ask you this. And I was like, I'm right here, Dave. What do you want to ask? You know, I want to ask you some questions, but what do you want to ask? And he says, is it possible for a gay person to be racist? I'm like, yes, Dave. There's no way you have not met a racist gay person in your fucking life. You've been in show business for like 20 years. You've literally met OJ 5 times. You made jokes about this. Who the fuck are you kidding? And then you start talking about Mike Pence being gay. And Mike Pence might be gay. But you're kind of missing the big thing about Mike Pence and gay people. That he's homophobic as fuck. Like you could... Oh boy, if you could not come up with a better homophobe than Mike Pence. He's one of the prime examples. Him and like that fucker... Pastor Greg Locke, that fucking piece of garbage. This is a guy who literally let an AIDS outbreak in his county and I think it was his state because we're worried that he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. This guy is homophobic. So his wife teaches at a school that's religious, doesn't allow their students to be gay. This dude is one of the poster boys for homophobia. And yeah, he might be gay. There's plenty of homophobes that are gay, and he certainly seems very effeminate. But at the same time, he's also a raging homophobic piece of shit. And then Dave Chappelle, this man went on to talk about how he didn't know about today's gay people because they're too soft. And already you're sitting here going, okay, even if we are, what the fuck does that matter, Dave? How is that even right for you to say that? How is that something like, yeah, you can tell your jokes, you have your freedom. But in what logical sense? And when you're talking about morals, that right? You talk about how it wasn't right the way you signed over your contract and didn't get paid a lot of money. Well, is it right for you to say something like that? Because if a white person said they didn't know about today's black people, they're too soft, don't you think people would call them racist? If any man said, oh, I don't know about today's women, they're too soft, wouldn't you say they're sexist? You get where I'm going with this? And for that matter, me, a cis man, or any other cis man, if we said, I don't know about today's trans people, they're too soft, wouldn't you say they're transphobic? And besides that, who cares if people are soft? Dave, why do they have to be hard all the fucking time? I don't even mean that in a fucking boner sense, motherfucker. What the fuck are you talking about? Some Jadakiss shit. Why is Jadakiss as hard as it gets? We don't need to be as hard as it gets. Maybe sometimes we just want to chill. This is the same man who in another comedy special said that people, they don't know how to care. That his generation knew how to care because they had a show called Care Bears. And yet here you are going, wow, the gay people, they are too damn soft. Which is by the way, that's the opposite of what I see. I see it more to gay people. They don't take no fucking shit from nobody. They call out people on their fucking bullshit, including you, Dave Chappelle. That's what you don't fucking like. If anything, y'all the soft ones. Because you can't handle real criticism. You can't handle when you actually say something pretty fucked up and homophobic, and you go, hey, it's just jokes, how do you fucking talk about? But anyway, he then said that the ones he liked were the ones at Stonewall. Now, I don't know a lot about Stonewall, despite being queer. I don't, but I know enough to know this was a riot that literally started the Pride parade, the whole Pride movement. And it was a riot started by a trans woman, a black trans woman. Oh, this is just a really weird take by Dave Chappelle. And it's going to get weirder. Now, I can't find the actual tweet, unfortunately. So you might think I'm full of shit when I say this next part. I think the lady locked her tweets. It was a friend of... Now, in the special, I'm going to have to explain a little. Dave Chappelle goes on later on to say he had a trans fan named Daphne, and she was a comedian. Let me point out here, and this is where the suicide mention comes in. She took her own life because, at least according to Dave, she was being bullied online for defending Dave from other jokes he made in the past, like transphobic jokes. Let me make it very clear here. You should never harass or bother anybody in that way, or any cyberbullying or anything like that. I don't care what they've done. Don't do that. Don't treat them like that. That's fucking horrible. But let me point out here, it's also very, very sus that Dave immediately tries to cast the blame on the trans community, and also Twitter, a place that doesn't exist, mind you, that he said earlier in the damn show. And immediately tries to throw everybody under the bus and basically starts throwing... It's pretty clear from the show he's trying to follow this tribalism. He literally says in the show, gay people today have more rights than black people. Which, yeah, you're right to an extent. But it's also him basically pitting people against each other. And then there's also people who are black who are gay. Or trans, or anything for that matter. Like anything not straight. It's a very strange take. And why he would even make it, I don't know. Other than to pit people against each other. Which is pretty fucked up. And here he's doing it again and using his own friend to do it. Now maybe this did happen. And that is gross. That is disgusting. Regardless of what happened. I don't know the situation. But I will tell you this. In the same special, I found out, I didn't watch, but I found out from reading the tweets of her friend, or the Facebook message from her friend, which I can't find right now on Twitter. So forgive me, I'm going to have to pull this from memory. Because I think she locked her account, as I understand. Okay, Dave would go on to explain about it. First of all, she claims that despite being her friend, they called Dave Chappelle's people after she died when they were having memorials. Dave didn't do anything. He didn't send money, he didn't send flowers, he didn't show up, nothing. Didn't go to the funeral, did nothing. So for him being her friend, he didn't seem to really care too much that she died, except to use her death to perpetuate his own career. Which is pretty sad, pretty fucked up. But it gets worse. So, she talks about how she didn't necessarily trust Dave, that I guess she met him whenever they were hanging out, but she knew that Daphne, her friend Daphne, was really happy about this, so she didn't want to tell her anything, which, that's fine, I understand, I've been there, you know. And, so, like, he's talking about how, in the special, Dave's talking about how he let her do stand-up and she bombed, and he said she was terrible. And Dave Chappelle's exact words were, that bitch sucked for 40 minutes or something like that. Calling his dead friend a bitch is quite a take there, Dave. Real respectful. And then he goes on to say in the same special that, keep in mind, she has passed away and he's saying her comedy was terrible, basically burying her career. And even though this was his friend, he could have just lied and said she was okay. But, you know, Dave Chappelle, he's just being Dave, I guess, right? Anyway, then he goes on to say that he went to hug her one time. But then he said he had to push her away because he's transphobic. This was supposed to be some kind of joke. I don't get what the joke is. Keep in mind, he's talking about his dead friend here. This might seem a little more me repeating repetitive, but to me, this is shocking. This is pretty fucked up. Like, I have quite a few trans friends. I would not say any of these things if my friends died. I'm not transphobic, but I wouldn't do some weird-ass joke for clout like this either. What the fuck is even the point? I probably wouldn't even want to use them in comedy like that, because it's pretty creepy and grifty, but anyway. Moving on, he later would go on to say that she had a daughter, and he's going to help take care of the daughter, I'm assuming financially. I don't know the whole gist of that, but I'm just going to assume he's going to help with money and stuff like that. But he then goes on to say, when she gets older, she's going to tell her daughter, I knew your father, and he was a great woman. This man is literally misgendering his friend who died. I don't know how much more of a scumbag you could fucking be. I'm sorry. He's misgendering his friend who died for a fucking joke in a comedy special he's been paid millions of dollars to do, where he also calls himself a TERF and transphobic. This would be like if I died, and my friend, unless I was cool with it. If I'm cool with my friends, I tell them you can call me a fag or whatever. That's different. But if I had a friend who's like, I'm gonna tell him that fag was a really nice guy or something. But even that's not as bad, because as much as that might hurt me, might be offensive, it's still not even as bad as what Dave was doing here. He's misgendering her twice after she died. And that's only the only time he misgendered a woman. Here's another story in the special. When I stopped watching, when he talks about how a woman came up to the bar and told him to stop talking to his girlfriend, and he didn't know she was a lady and she was a lesbian. And then he claimed, according to him, apparently he hit her afterwards. Because Dave's apparently a fan of beating up women. That's nice. On top of everything else. I actually think this is where I can stop it, because holy fucking shit. How can you go any lower? Like, fuck Dave Chappelle. Fuck him, he's a piece of fucking garbage. And fuck you if you defend him. Like, if you don't defend him, you're cool as fuck. Okay, I think most people watch this are not going to defend this piece of fucking garbage. But if anybody's out there defending Dave Chappelle, there are plenty of people on Twitter, on YouTube. I'm talking about you, Quartering. You fucking fat, stupid, grifting piece of fucking shit. People like you. People like you who have to look in the mirror every day and know you're a piece of fucking garbage, and you only get famous by peddling to the lowest common denominator. There's probably other people I could call out, but he's top of the list. I'm sure the other Chud Patrol, all the Chud Patrol are jumping on this. Motherfucking geeks and gamers and every other fucking little bootlicker that wants to sit here and go, the left. It's not the fucking left. It's not SJWs. It's not any of this other bullshit tribalism you try to put. This is people who are not pieces of fucking garbage, who are not horrible, bigoted bitches, literally going, hey, maybe you shouldn't sit here and make a comedy special where you literally misgender your dead friends. A friend you couldn't even bother to go to her fucking funeral for. You fucking piece of garbage. Maybe, just maybe, if you took like 5 minutes to think about it, a little rich-ass comedian in his 40s who literally did a bit on Saturday Night Live a few years ago about voting for Trump because he didn't want to pay taxes because he's rich, who's literally sitting here complaining about being canceled, is a transphobic piece of fucking garbage. I mean, you can sit here all you want, and I will say it again. And if that's you, that's fine. That was a rant for all the assholes, but fuck all of them. I think we can all agree. Fuck Diddy defenders of Dave Chappelle at this point. You can defend Chappelle's show, that's fine. You can defend all his other comedies. Hell, I don't know enough about most of his other comedy specials to say anything about him except Sticks and Stones, Killing Them Softly, and Live in the Fillmore. And even in Killing Them Softly, he did a really bad slut-shaming joke that I don't like. So that's pretty fucked up. So if you want to go after that, that's fine. But there's no defending the closer. There's no defending that at all, or Dave Chappelle at this point. The person Dave Chappelle is fucking garbage. His work that he did, at least up to a point, at least up to like 2005, fucking fantastic. Hell, Half Baked is amazing. I love fucking Half Baked. I can probably watch Half Baked sometime soon. As much as I don't like Dave Chappelle, as much as I think he's a piece of fucking garbage. As much as I don't even want anything to do with that man, ever. And it's a little sad, because this is a guy I thought was a good dude. Thought you could look up to him. I thought, I didn't really care. I'm not a celebrity guy, but I thought, it'd be cool if you knew my Dave Chappelle. Now, I don't even want to meet this dude. Why would I want to? Why would I even want to? And I don't know what the proper course of action here is. I mean, some people are saying the special will be taken off Netflix. I don't know. I'm not the guy to answer that. I'm a cis white guy with a grudge. That's all I am. But I will say, I think the special hurts people, including his dead friend that he seems to care so much about. It's a disgusting show, and I would definitely advise not watching it ever. And fuck you, Dave Chappelle. That's the final message. It's a shame to see people you like go so low. But at this point, I don't know what to expect. Dude was taking out with Joe Rogan. He's a fucking piece of shit too, but it is what it is. But anyway, thank you for watching this almost therapeutic session And I hope you have a great day. Bye.